JD, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe, please hit like. And what do I have here? Well, a gentleman showed up at my door today. His name is Paul. I'll give you first names only. And he's got a clock. It is a Carriage clock that he said that is not working. And within the group that I'm a member of, the guys keep sending me these Carriage clocks. So I said, I told him I don't like working on clocks. He says, don't worry about it. I think you'll be able to do it, right? You'll be able to do it. So I don't know what's wrong with this clock at all. They're pretty simple clocks. This is the winding mechanism. I've got to take some pressure off of this thing because basically the spring is wound up. I think he replaced the mainspring and then tried to get it going again. But if I don't take the pressure off the mainspring barrel, this thing could just snap back at me. So I'm going to do that first. He didn't give me a key, so it's a bit tricky without a key. I may have to use a vice grip or something but I don't want to scratch it. So I got to be very careful doing this, but I need to have the power off the mainspring. As well, I know that these things are very touchy to set. I have a Carriage clock. It's actually running right now. Let me show it to you here. This is my Mappin and Webb Carriage clock that I've shown you guys a few times, I think. Here it is here. It's a lot bigger. And this clock, you wind it. I watch myself here. I don't want to break anything. You wind it. I've got the key here. It'd be a godsend if this key would fit this. It would be really nice, wouldn't it? Oh, boop, 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 boop. It might fit. It's almost fitting. It's just sort of fitting. No, it's not fitting. So this one here, you wind it like this. It's the same sort of thing, right? Like that. And then you set the time with this, the same mechanism. And then there's a friction point here for one of the wheels. And right here, you have to set this perfectly because it provides friction to one of the wheels. And let me just turn this around so you can see what I'm talking about. Close the door. These things are pretty. I love these things. They're very pretty. So if you look at the wheel there, I don't know the name of the darn thing, but the uppermost wheel here, that is moving right now. Let me show you what that looks like here. Turn on the light. And you can see that rotating on the top, the very top. And it's got the horizontal teeth there. So that, you provide friction to that by that little screw in the back. And if you don't have that friction just perfect, then it won't send the power to the escapement. And if it's not sending the power to the escapement because it drives the escapement, then it won't drive the balance. So I don't know what is wrong with this one here at all. I have no idea, but I guess I've been told it's a bit of a rush job. So the first thing is the balance loose? And I don't know if the balance is loose or not. I'll have to take power off this, and I'm going to see if I've got maybe my key for my sessions clock will unwind this. So let me get back to you. So I've got my sessions clock key, and I think it's close enough to work on this. So it's not completely tight, but it's not definitely tighter than it is loose. So I should be able to turn this and then loosen it. But I need to have this kind of up on a stand of some sort because I don't want to be, I need to take the pressure off of the click spring here while I'm turning this very carefully. So I got to figure out how to grab this thing without compromising it at all. So let's try that. So I decided to lay it down on my very nice Bergeron pad here. Hopefully it doesn't put a hole in it. Maybe I'll put a cloth down first and then lay it down. That way I don't get a hole in the pad because it's a pretty high-end pad. And then all I need to do is move that click spring out of the way and make sure I hold on to this as it unwinds. I could probably hold it here and then just lower it like that and then get it set. Once I do this, push down here, let it go back a bit, hold it, turn that a little bit. And then I got to do this again, put this back a bit, hold it. There's full power on this, and you know if you let that thing go, it's going to go. And let me see if I can get it back even more. Make sure that's in place. Turn that a bit. I'm actually afraid of clocks. I don't know if I've ever told anybody that, but I told the guys at the watch and clock club, don't give me clocks to work on because I don't want to lose my fingers or my eyeballs. So I'll have to give them shit next time because I keep getting clocks. This is almost completely unwound here. It's loose now. So that's completely unwound. Now what I want to do is see what happens with the wheels here when I put some pressure on them. Let me get a glove on here and be a good boy and see what I can do with this particular device. Now what I want to know here is if I put pressure on the wheel here, will that cause the escapement to move? And if the escapement moves, is that going to cause the watch to actually start beating? I think this is all free enough. I think the problem is, yeah, if I look at this, this is all free. So the problem is up here. And I hate to say, but I'm probably going to have to take the balance off and have a look at what that's looking like. Because there's interaction here, but what I'm going to do is look at this under a microscope and see what I'm looking at. Because there needs to also be an impulse pin of some sort on this watch. And this is an old British clock, I believe. It's a nice looking clock, but again, it's got a metal faceplate on it, which is kind of nice. Again, I'm going to look under the balance. If I just peek at it right now, at this, and see what this is doing. Yeah, the escapement is I think they're called cylinder escapements. I think to get a cylinder escapement working, it has to interact with the escape wheel just so. It actually looks like they have an impulse jewel on the top of this thing, but no, it's just a part of the cylinder escapement, part of the cylinder part of the escapement. Because the balance seems to be nice and loose, which is nice. So maybe it's a simple problem. Don't know. I'm going to look under the microscope though and come back in a second. All right, here's the situation. I have some components here I have to point at. So I have got, see if I can figure this out, how to explain it to you. So this pinion right in there, you see that pinion there? This pinion right there interacts with this wheel right here. And see how it's now sort of working? The only reason it's working is because it's kind of a little bit upside down, which means the pinion has dropped this way. Now with this particular type of escapement, the teeth of the escape wheel weren't getting in to the tube, I'll say, that's required to, see, it'll work upside down. And you see that? It's because it's not getting into the, I'm trying to remember the name of this particular type of escapement. It's not your North American pocket watch escapement. It's a British, I'm thinking lever escapement or something. I'll have to look it up. I'll look it up and I'll get right back to you on it. But the problem is there's a component down there and there's a broken jewel. And that broken jewel is allowing that pivot to drop lower than it's supposed to. And because it's dropping lower than it's supposed to, that pinion is dropping down, and then it's guiding the escape wheel is actually too low to interface properly with the balance staff and that part. I'm gonna look it up and show it to you in a second. All right, here is the problem. This clock has a cylinder escapement. Like I said, I'm not sure if I said lever, but it's a cylinder escapement. If you look at the blue animation here, animation of a cylinder escapement showing the cylinder part of the work. So these little teeth here, hopefully you can see my hand, but the little blue cylinder, the little blue teeth going inside and outside of the cylinder have got to interact with that cylinder perfectly. Well, the cylinder is attached to the balance, which is attached to the hairspring is on the balance. All that's part of the balance. And if you look at the diagram just to the left here, that's what it looks like. But if this escape wheel here is too low, then the feet for the cylinder escapement won't go into the cylinder. They'll knock on the side. And that's exactly what's happening with this clock, or the carriage clock. And the reason it's happening is that the jewel, there's a jewel on the top and a jewel on the bottom, and the jewel on the bottom is busted. And because it's busted, this has lowered the escape wheel, not allowing it to interact with the cylinder. So that is the problem right there, folks. So the only solution to this is to replace the jewel on the bottom. So I'm seeing whether I can do this. I can do pocket watch jewels. I've never done a jewel on one of these watches. I have to find the right jewel and see if this is doable for me. Pocket watches are not a problem. This is a bigger jewel, and I'm not sure whether I will be able to do this or not, but let's have a look at it anyway. Oh, and how I got this thing working is I took my oiler here, and I just sort of put my oiler on the base of that pinion, the pinion that's down there. I just put the oiler on the base of that pinion to move it up. So I moved it up just a tad, and there we go. It's ticking away. And that was allowing that pinion to go up this way. It was allowing the teeth to interact properly with the cylinder. So that worked. So I got to take this apart and check out that jewel. So I'm very, very carefully unwinding this again because it scares the crap out of me. I only wound it up a few times, but I just want to make sure it's catching so this thing doesn't fly off on me. You don't want to work on a watch or pocket watch or any type of clock or any type of mechanism like this until you've taken the power off adequately. So the power is off there now. This is the key, like I said, for my sessions clock. It just so happens to work. So there. So we've got this now. I've got to strip this apart. So I want to very carefully take off the platform escapement, or the platform, I think it's called the platform escapement. Take that off very carefully. And I'm not sure I'm not really familiar with this particular pocket watch, or this particular watch rather, but it's like a big pocket watch. It's just got some strange gearings and stuff like that. And I'm leaving the screws in the order that they're in so that I can put them back in the same order. But I want to be super careful with this. I think I can just lift the whole thing up, which would be a beautiful thing, a wonderful, beautiful thing. Oh yeah. Lift it straight up, no problem. And just very carefully remove this. So this job I thought I had about a month to do, and I got about a week on a good day. Now I want to see if this thing is going to lift up for me. And it is. There we go. I was able to just lift it up like this at an angle. And there's that wheel I was telling you about. So all this is working perfectly. Now let me just get to the other camera and show you the problem. All right, here we go. This is the platform part of the platform balance. I've worked on these before. I don't believe I've ever replaced a bottom jewel though. So, and there it is there. And it looks as though, I keep hitting this stupid lever. It looks as though this jewel is cracked. When I looked at it through the microscope, it looks split, and it's causing the pinion, which is the bottom part of this escapement, to move down. And you can see the play there. And if you have it, if the play is right, the balance works fine. But if it's not, it just rolls around, folks. It just rolls around. So what I want to do is take this off and have a look at it. But I'll look at it again under the microscope to make sure I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right, though. And maybe I'll set up a microscope look at this for you guys. Now here's the upper part of the balance of this platform escapement with my microscope. And I can just remove this very carefully and see if I can rotate this around. So I'm going to try to keep it in focus generally as I rotate this. But there, as you can see on the inside there, you can see where the cylinder is and where the, I'm not sure if I can point at this, but the cylinder's right here, and the teeth, the feet of the escapement enter that cylinder. Now if it's too low, as you can see here, see if I can see that here like that. If it's too low, it's going to end up knocking on the cylinder and not going into the hole, because there's the cylinder right there. I'm going to use a needle, see if I can point at this with a needle without touching anything. That's the tricky part. The tricky part from this angle here. There, that's the cylinder there in the middle, and that's the feet. And they have to enter that. Now, because if I look at this pinion down here, this pinion has a little bit of play, and I'll show you the play on the pinion. And you see that play on the pinion? This is, it will operate nicely like this. You can actually see it ticking there when I was turning this. But like this, that cylinder is not, the feet of the escapement is not getting into the cylinder. So why is that happening? It's happening because I believe the jewel is busted on this thing, and there it is. That, my friends, is a busted jewel, and it's causing everything to be a bit low. I'm not sure, again, raising that up, like how is this going to work? It looks like there was probably a cap jewel missing as well. Yeah, it looks like this should have probably had a cap on the top, and there isn't any. And it's missing. It kind of looks like the jewel is upside down as well, because that jewel, there's no need for that jewel to be flat, or have that, there's no need for that jewel to have that little cup on the bottom. It should be flat, and then there should be a stone on the end, like a cap jewel on the end. So I have to figure out how to raise that up to make sure it's the right height. So I know like this, it's perfect, right? Because the top part of the jewel, the top jewel is sticking in there. I'll have to look at the top jewel too to make sure I understand how that's put in. But the first thing I'm going to do is unscrew this thing, very carefully unscrew it, and take this bridge off with this jewel and see if I can really understand the problem here. So let's just unscrew that. I can do it under camera, I guess, because there's no risk at all. It's and I have no other way of holding this crazy movement but like this anyway. The whole thing is to be very careful and deliberate. I'll just put that over on the side, and now I should be able to lift this up, but I'm going to get a very small screwdriver here and see if I can wedge it in here to help me. There we go. And now if I can lift that straight up. There we go. So that's that there. And there are some pins in the bottom of this that are alignment pins, which is good. So that's that there. Now let me look at this pinion here and see if I've got, yeah, that looks fine. It looks like there's no problem there. So I'm going to put this the way it is escapement and all. I'm going to put that in the wheel here, or in my bench block here, kind of get it out of the way. And I'll just find a hole that fits it like that, and just put that down like this. And there we go. Now that's relatively safe like that. It's funny when you get under the a microscope, you can see little hairs and stuff. You cannot see those until you get under a microscope. Let's see if I can grab that hair. Grab that hair, Jerry. So that's that. So that's good there. Now what I want to do now is have a look at this baby, because this looks odd and crazy. So it's going down too deep and it's cracked. So I'm going to look at this in a microscope, but I can see the crack right now. And I actually think that on the other side of this jewel, there should have been some kind of cap jewel that would have capped that off. And that would raise that up more, because it's not raised up enough. This is going to be a little bit of a problem to fix, because I can see that yeah. I'm not sure how far that goes down and whether that's domed or not. I got to look under my microscope, and I'll be right back. So I'm looking at this again, and the depth of the jewel is the depth of the jewel. I don't think there's a problem here. This needs to be cleaned. Need to dip that in lighter fluid, clean that up. And there also is no crack on this jewel. I thought that was cracked and lowered. It looks like there's a crack, but there's a dirt mark on it that looks exactly like a crack. You see that? It looks like it's cracked. I looked under the microscope, and there is not a crack. See that there? No crack. It'll no crack pa. So once again, this unit here, this pinion has to go up more, or the balance has to go down more. I can see a little bit of end shake on the balance, but not a lot. So I'm going to strip this balance off. One thing I noticed, though, I'm not sure if this is age or what, but the setting mechanism, you can see how that's loose right now. Let me just focus this a bit more here for you. See how this is loose right now? Well, that has to do with those screws on top not being in place enough. Now that might allow the balance to float up, but gravity would pull that balance down. So I'm not sure what that problem is. It looks like the pivot on the bottom is going through, no problem. But it does look like, if you could look at this side here, it looks like this is raised up a bit. So it looks like there's enough. If you look at the back of that balance cock, right back here, look at the groove back there. This is raised up, so it should be lower. So maybe the solution might be the balance needs to drop down. I'll have to just basically take this apart and have a look at what the situation is with the balance. So not sure yet, but I'm going to look at it again under the microscope and see what the play is on that lower pivot for the balance, to see if there's a problem with the play on that at all. So let me just focus in again. Just focus up and then raise the darn thing up, eh? That's a better way of doing this, I think. There it is there. Look at that. Oh, yeah. So there's that pivot going into the jewel hole, and it's going in there nicely. There's no problem. But I want to look at the end play and see why is there so much end play. Also, if I look at this balance, if you look at the balance cock there, it looks like it's bent up. I'm not sure if you can see that, but this looks like it's been bent upward. Someone has taken this balance and it is not flat. It's not this thing from here over, right? From here over to here is bent up. I'm positive that's not flat. I'm just eyeballing it right now, but that does not look flat to me. That looks like it got bent up, and right around where the base is, right around here, I think is where it got bent. somewhere around here. So I'm going to just take this apart and have a look at it. I may be able to bend that back down, but I need to for sure tighten the regulator arm on it, because that is not helping. But even if I bent this down, it may help with the end play. But now, understanding that when this is in operation, it's always sitting like this. It's always sitting flat, because it's a carriage clock. It never goes sideways. It never goes upside down. It's flat. So bending this down is not going to help with that problem. The pinion going up would, but it doesn't look like like that jewel on the bottom there. It doesn't look like that jewel is wrong. So I gotta see what kind of adjustments I'm gonna do to this thing, and I'll be back with hopefully a solution of some kind. I'm not sure. This is gonna be one of those videos where you're like, what the hell is he talking about? This is how you diagnose watch problems, but there has to be an interface between the feet of that escapement wheel and the cylinder. And right now the escapement wheel is too low and the cylinder is too high. I'm looking at this too, and if you look at this here, it doesn't look too bad, but it's way off anyway. So I'm gonna have to look at this and see what the jewels look like underneath the balance too. So I'll be back. Now I just have to mention this. Another crazy but perhaps workable quick fix here was to drop, because of the depth of this hole to that base jewel, was actually to drop another jewel in that hole. And just drop it in, and that would raise that escapement up, and it might actually work. It could be the simplest solution of all, if everything else seems to be kosher. So I'm not sure if anyone ever thought of that one, but that might work. I should try that out before I do anything. It might be the simplest fix of all, because this thing, like I said, the watch is always flat. It's never in any other position. So here are some of my seats jewels. So the idea I have is to drop another jewel into that hole. It's a out-of-the-box thinking idea for sure. So I've got all these jewels here. Again, not sure the width of this jewel, but I'm just going to have to take a guess at it. And I'm looking at all the different types of jewels I have here. So if I select one of these jewels, I've got to throw it in upside down, unless I can pick a flat one, right, and throw that in. But the most important part is that it's got to fit on top of the pinion. So I have to take this mechanism here and just put this upside down on the mat, and I'll be just throwing jewels on top of it until I get one that fits. So this is all about precision, so I might as well be precise. So I've got my seats jewel gauge here, and I'm just going to see what the diameter of this jewel is. Let me get my head in here. That's probably a 16 or something. No, I think it's even bigger than a 20. Yeah, maybe a 26. 24, so 26 fits. 24 fits. 22 doesn't really fit. So 24. So I need to find a 24. So that's pretty good. So it gives me part of the problem. The next thing is the diameter of the jewel itself. So this is a 24-120. So I'll see if this fits into the hole. So let's just try that out, and then I'll just go down or up from there. Now, just because watchmaking should be incredibly enjoyable, I'm going to show you how I throw this jewel in there. So first of all, let me just dump these jewels out here. I'll pick them up again after. But I've got to see if this is a 24-120, which might be too big or too small. I'm not sure which. And I'm trying to do this. I got to get a little bit closer myself. So I'm just putting stuff out of the way so I can get my butt closer to this problem. And let me grab this jewel. Trying to make sure everything is in view. Grab this jewel right here. And I'm not sure if 120 is too big or too small or what, but I want the flat part of that jewel to be in there. So, and with any luck, it's going to go straight down. And it almost fits. I think it rotated, so you tap that out. I think 130 might be better. So 24, 130, well, 120 might work. Not much side shake on that. There it is, sitting in the hole, lined up perfectly. And that would raise that. Yeah, that would raise that up. I think the cup is facing up, though. I want the cup facing down. How come I can never get a cup to face down? What is my problem? And of course, I'm going to resort to Rodico, which is man's best friend. Watchmakers, that is. So I just go in there and grab that. If this works, it'll be amazing. It dropped out. And try that again here. So this is a shot in the dark. But it might work. I'm going to see if I can get a bigger jewel. There, I got the 24 120 in there nice and flat. So that'll give me better real estate on the bottom of this particular pinion. So I'm just going to very carefully put this back together and see what I get. Alright, so you can see the pivot sticking through right here. Right, where's my pointer here? The pivot is sticking through right here. Lower that a bit, right there, which is dropping the balance down, which is interfacing with this a lot better. The problem I have here is this thing has like a screw-on cap jewel, which is kind of, I don't know, archaic, or not sure what I call it, but the cap jewel pushes that pivot upward, right? So it's riding on the cap jewel, and then that misaligns the pinion here, which would have to go up more. And I think the only way to get that pinion to go up, other than bending this here, which I don't want to do, I don't want to bend this here. That doesn't make any sense at all. But to make that pinion go up a bit, you would have to, like I said before, put another jewel in there, and that just doesn't make any sense why that would ever happen. So I'm a bit confused about why this is like that. So what I'm going to do is put this back together and see if it runs like this, and then we'll go from there. Alright, I've put the platform balance back in. I still need to do a bit of work on this tomorrow, so still need to put the see if they get these in the right place here. I still want to put the fix this because it's way too loose here, which means these screws right there are way too loose. So I'm not sure how this platform balance got in this condition, but it's in pretty poor condition here. So let me just put the platform back on and see if I wind this, will it run? Because it runs without the cap on. I got to talk to the guys about this. I'm not sure. It should have the cap on it to run properly. But if the cap's on it, like I said, the balance is pushed up. It's almost like this thing had been modified or something in the past. Makes no sense at all. Let me just see if these things are interfacing properly. Yeah, I've got a good interface there. So I'm just going to put these 2 screws in, and then I'm going to call it a night after this and go at it again tomorrow. Again, the issue is with this cap jewel. And it's the interface with the cylinder of this balance and the escapement feet. I'll put the video up after this. Not sure whether this will run or not the way it is, but we'll just see what the situation is. I don't think this was cleaned at all either. And I want to look at this really carefully to see what that interface is between the All right, let me just wind this and see what happens. Where is the key? It was in here. No, actually it wasn't in here. This is where the where I figured out what is the size 24. I still might do that jewel fix to bring that escapement up. That might be the only fix, but I've got to go look for some more different jewels. So different than the ones I had before. See if this does anything. Yeah, I got it running a little bit here, but not a lot. But it's interfacing with the thing properly because it's actually turning, and before it wasn't turning at all. So I do have an interface here. It's just sloppy. Yeah, I think there's too much friction down below here, so I do probably need to put this cap back on here and bring that whole escapement or the balance up a bit and deal with it like that. So these things are a bugger. So I'm doing this for some friends who said that they don't have the wherewithal because this thing is not more like a pocket watch than it's like a clock. So I do have to take the power down off this again because I don't want to leave the power on while I'm trying to figure this out. So I'll take the power down and we'll go at it again tomorrow, and I'll maybe do some more jewel hunting and see what I can get. So thanks for watching my channel, and I'll see you later.